Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Pop Go the Writers.
Middling that time.
Yeah. See, it's good. A little better, but all right. Tonight we are going to do. You probably would have thought we'd talk about the Eternals, but I have not gotten over to see the Eternals yet because I spent my I spent my afternoon playing Dungeons and Dragons, so I did not get a chance to get over there and had a family commitments this weekend. So I'm probably going to go tomorrow afternoon and see it. So we'll be able to talk about it next week, both on the Dan Wickline show and then here with Paul. I do know what the two post-credit scenes are. Oh, you haven't seen it yet, Paul?
I have also not seen it because I took the pressure off myself because you weren't going to be able to see it. So I went, you know what? I'm going to take my day off and just kind of not go crazy trying to fit things in.
All right. Well, it surprises me just how much the post-credit scenes are being talked about in mainstream media and just all over the place because, I mean, they're big in the sense of who they bring in, and I won't spoiler it, but it would take like 2 seconds to find out because, I mean, the original one of the big reveals was put out there by one of the reporters for Variety the night of the premiere.
Really?
Literally just came out and tweeted out, this person's now part of the MCU. And then the next night, Stephen Colbert talked about it on his show. So these are the worst kept secret post-credit scenes I've ever seen. The fact that, we were talking about it 2 weeks before and then, there's a mysterious voice in the second post-credit scene and the director just came out and said who it is.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. It's like, well, yeah, there goes the surprise. So it's pretty cool. It is actually pretty cool who the voice is, and it's interesting who the actors are, but it's just, surprised that we're already getting that. But all right, I think that's probably enough about that.
Because we'll go into deep detail
next week. Yes, definitely. As I said earlier, I was playing Dungeons and Dragons. I am DMing a game with some industry people, and it went pretty well. I was pleased. I actually used the program I'm using right here to do this show. I just went ahead and played it here, and I had my screen up and just had cutouts of the maps from the book and put them up on the screen, and it worked surprisingly well. And it's like, oh, you're taking on a swarm of animated books. Here's a picture of it, And to me, that was actually a lot more. I've tried using stuff like Roll20 and Front Fantasy Grounds, where they have maps and interactive, and you can do all this stuff. And it just takes so much time and effort to run those things. And it's like they've got so much bells and whistles on it that right now I'm at a point where I just prefer to use D&D Beyond for character sheets and encounters and rolling, and then just put up the pictures of the maps. And it worked really well. We went through almost an entire one adventure. Had we not had to call it, because I had to prep for the show and one of the other guys had to go out to dinner, we probably could have finished the very first adventure in Candlekeep Mysteries, which is is you level up at the end of it. So I think we had like 2 or 3 rooms left.
I do recommend, if you're looking for something with a lot of functionality but not the complexity of Roll20, I do recommend. It's called Owlbear Rodeo.
Okay.
Owlbear.rodeo. And it's got a lot of the functionality, but it's not quite as intensive. We use that for my Tuesday night group.
Okay, I'll take a look at that. The one thing I was concerned about is that Candlekeep Mysteries has I'm using it as a guide, but I'm trying to make a full story, and it's neat because it's separated into 17 different adventures with all but two of them where you level up after the adventure. So it's kind of nice cut and paste, and you're done. It's like, oh, we're starting the next adventure here. Now we're level 2. Now we're level 3. For some reason, there's 2 adventures that take up level 4, but everything else is 1 level. But the opening story is a little convoluted on how you get them started. There's this, it's like, well, you need everybody to go through this portal. And I know a lot of players who would be like, I ain't going through a random portal. I could die. I want to know what's on the other. It's cautious, you know? And I was trying to figure out how I could get them to go through the portal. And I was coming up with all these ways. And as soon as we start playing, there's a guy who's playing a knight who's probably not that intelligent. The knight, not the player. And as soon as the portal opened, he goes, I go through it. He says, I poked my head back. It's safe. Like, all right, problem solved.
It's always good to have a player who is a plot mover. Not always in the direction you want, but definitely we had a guy in one of my groups who would just, like, the GM loved him because it was like, oh, now I'm going to do this. You're going to do that? Yep. Okay, things are in motion.
Yeah, between the fighter who just was constantly opening doors and going everywhere I needed him to, and the rogue who would just randomly go exactly where the mobs were. Just perfectly. Just like, I checked that stack of books over there, and it attacks you. You know? So it was a lot of fun, and like I said, we didn't get to wrap it up, so we're going to finish it and then level everybody up and then move on to the next one in the third. So we're going to have a short session, but it was a good start. I was really happy with that. But all right. Tonight, we are going to talk about
obscure characters.
Yeah, I don't know about obscure or just characters.
Well, you kept saying obscure.
I did. But characters that we feel would be great to add to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I've been reading the book, the Marvel, the story of the story of Marvel Studios. And it got me thinking a lot about it. And I've been really pleased with this book. I've been just chugging away every night before I go to bed. I read, and I end up reading for like 3 hours. So I'm going to bed at like 2, 3 in the morning now because I'm flipping through this book. And there's just so many great stories in there, and just talking about how a lot of the stuff is by the seat of their pants a lot of times, or circumstance. One of the two best examples I posted this on my Facebook page, but one of them was the Iron Man scene where he first is trying out flying in the Mark 1 or the Mark 2, and he gets too high and he ices over and he falls and then fires off. And then later on when he's fighting Ironmonger, they're going up and he goes, so how'd you solve the icing problem? He's like, what icing problem? And that's how they get back to the ground. Well, you would think as a writer, don't you assume that was set up and payoff or a callback?
Yeah.
Nope. The second icing reference was not in the script. They got to a point where they had this fight in the air. They wanted to get it back on the ground, and they couldn't figure out how to do it. So they basically drove up to San Jose, where the writers were doing a festival, and took the clip that they had put together in editing. And they go, okay, so how do we get them back on the ground? And the two of them looked at each other and went, the icing problem. And all of that was added in post.
Nice.
You know, the voice, they did additional ADR and stuff. But again, that seems like, well, that's perfect. I mean, you set it up here, you call it back there. But I don't know how many times I've done that myself where I'm writing something and then later on I go, oh, wait, I could use that now. You know? Yeah. But when you're watching it in a movie that just kind of clicks, you think, oh, that was perfect. That's so good writing. No, that was just chance.
Well,
You know?
it was good writing. It just happened later in a very late rewrite.
Yep. And the second line, also from Iron Man, that blows my mind, is in the scene where they're doing the Senate hearing,
Mm-hmm.
and Stark's in there, and they call Rhodey, and Rhodey comes walking in, and this is Don Cheadle now. This is the first time Don Cheadle is playing Rhodes compared to Terrence Howard in the first movie.
Oh.
And when he walks up, Tony's like, "What are you doing here?" And Rhodes says, "It's me. I'm here. Get over it." And I always took that as a great way to address the actor change. Because it was like straight out, we did this, just get over it, move on. Don't dwell about it.
Yeah.
What turns out, also not in the script. Don Cheadle ad-libbed that on set. And Favreau went, "Oh, we're keeping that." So some of the things like that, it just, and the book is filled of things like that, where you get these little add-ins, or they go into depth about the shawarma scene, and how that was added. I mean, a lot of people know that was filmed. Yeah,
Chris Evans with his.
Yeah, because he had the big full beard.
Yeah,
for Snowpiercer, but he, they could only do it that day, the day of the premiere, because they were doing press junkets. They had everybody together, so they did the press junket, they did the premiere, they raced back to their hotels, they got changed, ran over to the shawarma place, a real shawarma place around the corner from the hotel. Filmed with one camera, one boom mic, and that was it. There was no dialogue or anything. And then they didn't even know how long they were going to film it for. Whedon's sitting there, and he's watching. And suddenly Hemsworth takes this bite into shawarma, and there's a loud crunch. And we're not even sure what the crunch was. And as soon as the crunch happens, he goes, "Cut. That's perfect." They load the truck back up. And as they're loading it up, one of the guys says, across the street was a billboard for the Avengers, and it said, "In 11 days."
So did anybody figure, did Helmsworth say what the crunch was? Okay.
No, it was probably just something in the sandwich, lettuce or something, but it just happened to be a crunchy, and it was a perfect time. So
I thought you were going to say something like Hemsworth tooth broke or something like that.
Yeah, no. But those are the kind of stories in this book, along with hirings and bringing people in, where they come from, and the deals and stuff. And it's a really fascinating read. It's a 2-book set. I'm about halfway through the first of the 2.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's all done by year. So I think I'm in 2010 or 2011 now. So
gotcha.
But we are talking about characters. Would you like to go first this time?
I want you to go first, because I want to get a feel for what kind of character you were looking for.
All right. I'm going to bring up this one because I've actually said this before. And it's not so much a character as a group of characters. I've got a couple kind of groups in here. Actually, I have more groups than I have individuals.
Cheater.
Absolutely. And 2 of this group, maybe 3, are already in the MCU. What I want is the rest of the group. I want at least a scene, or I don't think this is a group that you could get an entire movie out of, but I think they could be part of a movie, or at least an entertaining scene. And that's the Elders of the Universe.
Oh, right.
Okay. We've already got Grandmaster with Jeff Goldblum. Great character, great actor. What's the Grandmaster's real name? Ndwy. So we've got him. We've got the Collector with Benicio del Toro.
Yep.
And his real name is Tanalir Tivan. But there's so many other collectors. Now, they call Ego, the Living Planet, part of this too. So right there, could you imagine a scene with Benicio del Toro, Jeff Goldblum, and Kurt Russell in it?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so, but you could add in characters like there's the architect, the astronomer, caregiver, um, champion
The
of the
gardener.
universe, the gardener. Yeah. Bill Murray, that's where it came up last time, where I was talking about Bill Murray and how Bill Murray got hired for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. And I thought it would be great if he was playing the gardener, especially since it ties back to him being the groundskeeper in Caddyshack. So
I see what you did there.
yes,
It's kind of round around she goes kind of thing there. Yeah.
absolutely, yes, yeah. And but I like I said, I don't necessarily. I want them to be as eccentric as they can be. So I mean, they could do like a contest of the champions type of thing, where you have the different characters, but and then you could it'd be a neat way to bring in different heroes and stuff and put them against each other. But I just want a scene with all of those characters in it. I had hoped that we were going to get something like that in the upcoming Thor, because I know Jeff Goldblum is back as Grandmaster, and Russell Crowe had been cast, and I thought also he could be Gardner. You know, I keep going to Gardner because there are 5 that are basically the most well-known: the Collector, Grandmaster, Gardner, the Contemplator, and the Champion of the Universe. Those are probably the 5 best known. And I really just wanted a scene of them. I wanted the movie to open with a scene of them sitting around in like just some big place, and the Collector is talking about how his entire collection got ruined, while the Grandmaster is like, well, I lost an entire planet, and they're commiserating with the rest of them, and that's when Gore the God Butcher comes in and starts attacking. Something like that. So it's not so much in this case that I wanted a specific scene or a specific movie or series, and all my other ones I've got bigger plans for. But this one is, I just really, you've got the collect. I mean, we've not even gotten a scene with the Collector and the Grandmaster together.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's what I want. Is I want somehow we get that connection. We get the champion or the Elders of the Universe together, and we get more of them. So that's my first one right there.
Okay. All right. So mine comes from one of the books I loved as a kid, and we've we've got Doctor Strange, we've got the Hulk, we've got the Valkyrie, so now we need to bring in Nighthawk, or as the Hulk like to call him, Bird Nose.
Yes,
he has this very very cool blue and gold costume. Bird motif, including this really wild mask that looks like feathers and then like a yellow kind of almost a beak looking thing. He was kind of a run-of-the-mill guy, but his origin was that he found this alchemical formula that allowed him to have super strength at night, and he's basically like a Batman analog from when there was a point where the Justice League fought some people who were kind of like the Avengers, and then the Avengers fought the Squadron Sinister, who were kind of like the JLA. He was the Batman analog, but I love his costume. I know that there's a very cool new Nighthawk. That's not the one I'm talking about. I'm just talking about plain old Kyle Richmond, a dissolute playboy who finds purpose by fighting crime. Not quite so driven as Batman. More like, hey, this is something I can do and make the world a better place. Because I was kind of just a useless guy before. And I like the weird alchemical strength angle, which is fun when writers remember that it's there. Because it seemed like half of the time nobody remembered he got stronger at night. And he also had basically had a jetpack under the wing cape, and that's how he flew.
Is that why this cape is so high up?
I don't know. They always, because his original cape, he had a different costume originally, and it went up to give more of a wing-like look to it, but also I think in homage to the fact that Batman often has those kind of weird spiky shoulders.
I'm just looking at this picture I pulled up of him, and
now I don't remember them going up that high most of the time. But
it just seems like that would block your vision.
You know? Yes. Yeah. Well, it's kind of like Doctor Strange in his
or Iron Fist.
With the giant collars.
I think he's going to get knocked out more times than Mannix.
That seems unlikely. Is it even possible?
I mean,
people go like Mannix, and he's like, ugh.
True.
Poor Mike Connor. So yeah, I mean, it's not a very complicated reason why I think he would be there, but I would love him there because I would like a nod to the real Defenders rather than the version we got in Netflix, which, by the way, I am not counting as being part. I know some of the characters, some aren't, but I'm not counting that in this. I'm not counting Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I'm not counting the Netflix shows because Marvel Studios doesn't seem to be in terms of.
They count Agent Carter.
Yes, but that seems like it's a very special kind of exception. So how about you? What is your second character?
Okay, second character. And I'm probably going to need to pull up a picture for this one. So give me just a second here, because I think this character deserves a picture. Because from what I understand, he is the character that most artists hate to draw.
I know who it is.
Yeah, I didn't think you would. I thought you would.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is that a good picture? Or... yeah, let's go with that one. So, yep. Alrighty. Share screen.
This is all very high-tech and sophisticated. We practice this ahead of time.
Oh, yeah. Jack of Hearts.
Jack of Hearts it is.
Yes. There's a lot to love about this character. He is so angst-ridden. He's trapped in this suit, this god-awful suit. And he can't take it off because his body is this pure, basically this neutron bomb of energy that is only contained by this suit.
Mm-hmm.
So, first thing, his name is Jack Hart. How more on the nose can you get? Jonathan Jack Hart. He's been an Avenger. He's been a Defender. I'm trying to remember what they call that energy. It's like its own energy.
Like an N energy or something like that.
Yeah, I'm looking real quick. Zero. Jack Hart's superhuman powers are a result of a mutagenic effect of his father's zero fluid.
Right.
So the zero energy, his dad did that to him. So half of his face is dark, and he's got these energy bands. He can fire concussion blasts. He can fly. He can survive He can survive unaided in space. He has he can sense motions and stuff. He has increased intelligence, strength, durability, and memory.
He can create a heart around his eye.
Yes, I think it just might be makeup, but and he's got an arrow that points to his penis.
Well, who doesn't?
Yeah, but normally you don't wear it in a loincloth in the front of your outfit like that. Now, this was created by Bill Mantlo, the same guy that created Rocket Raccoon and the what was his other big?
Bill Mantlo, Strike Force Morituri.
Right.
Yeah, I mean.
Oh, Cloak and Dagger. So Cloak and Daggers.
Gotcha.
He worked with Micronauts, Rom the Space Knight. So this is his cosmic character. But again, this guy, his life has been crap. And you get a young actor who doesn't mind wearing this outfit, and you're going to get a real angst-filled drama with this super powerful character who, again, can't take his costume off or he'll destroy a planet type of thing. You know?
Oops.
Yeah.
I hate when that happens.
He is just maximum cosmic level. He would fit in with the Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, we know that there's going to be an end to this current iteration of Guardians of the Galaxy. James Gunn is going to wrap up his run with the third movie. Mm-hmm. A lot of the actors aren't coming back. I know Dave Bautista has said he's not coming back. But you know Marvel's going to want to do more Guardians of the Galaxy. So There may be a few actors who hang around, but they're going to need a new cast. Would love to see Jack of Hearts in it. And I'd really like to see how Marvel handled this costume. Because his powers are part of it, but without this costume, you know, it's so telltale. You know, he's a freaking playing card come to life.
Yep.
So, yeah. So this is a character I would absolutely love to see in the MCU. And like I said, I'd love to see him in the Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah. Or Thor as well, because Thor is getting a lot more cosmic too. We know we're going to get Adam Warlock. We're getting... Well, we met a few more characters than we thought in Eternals. So we're getting more and more cosmic characters.
Right.
So this just seems like a character that would be neat to pull in with Silver Surfer and Nova. And, you know, he fits in with all those characters.
Yeah. I think you can take him down now, though.
Oh, no, really? Okay. All right. I'll take him down.
My eyes start to bleed after I see him for too long. They've tried simplifying his costume too, and it never works any better than the.
No. And I remember what did I say? It was Bill Mantlo, and who's the guy the artist?
Keith Giffen.
Keith Giffen. And so Giffen was like pissed off that day or something. You know.
Yeah, it's weirdly, I feel like somebody had mentioned George Freeman, who created Captain Canuck, being somehow. Yeah, I think maybe he just did a mini series featuring the character. Drew a mini series featuring the character. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
What's interesting is where he made his debut.
Yeah,
in the freaking Deadly Hands of Kung Fu.
Yes, Deadly Hands of Kung Fu, just where you would expect.
Yep,
a cosmic space being to show up.
He was an antagonist, so he was the bad guy in the story against White Tiger.
Created by Bill Mantlo and George Perez.
And the best part is, it was a black and white comic book.
Yeah.
So he didn't make his color debut until he showed up in The Incredible Hulk 214, which I also think was written by Bill Mantlo.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he would pop up in Iron Man. He did stuff like Marvel 2-in-1, The Defenders. Kurt Busiek made him part of the Avengers. So
Busiek.
Sorry. I sat next to the guy for an entire weekend at PhoenixCon. You'd think I would know that, but he was just Kurt, you know?
Yeah. Well, you shouldn't have put up with that. You deserve to be treated like a full-blown human being. He shouldn't have been Kurt with you.
Actually, I absolutely loved hanging out with him that weekend. We talked a lot of obscure books and stuff, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to know Kurt and his wife Anne years ago. Kurt partly through online, and then Anne Kurt through conventions. Not well, but they're always a pleasure to talk to. Good folk.
Yeah, Anne wasn't able to make it with him, so it was just Kurt. So we sort of adopted him. So every time one of us from the table, whether myself, Lisa, or Ashley, who was there at the time, we'd get up to go do something. It was like, do you need anything, Kurt? Do you need me to cover the table for you? We're going to go get some food. Do you want anything? So we kind of adopted him for the weekend.
Yeah.
So.
Aww.
All right. So that's Jack O'Heart's. Mr. Story, you're up.
I'm debating on whether to mix up my order on these, but I think I'm going to go. I think I'm going to go next with the man who is more Marvel than any other Marvel character, because he's been around since almost the beginning and has shown up in book after book after book. It is, in fact, the perennial sidekick of the Marvel Universe, Rick Jones. Would-be rock and roll star, leader of the Teen Brigade, who in the original incarnation they used to call around on shortwave radios. That was their big thing. Yep. It was a bunch of kids that he'd put out bulletins to the Teen Brigade to try and, because he started out in the Hulk. Mm-hmm. He's actually the reason in the comics why the Hulk is the Hulk, because he had driven out onto a test a testing site, and Bruce Banner went running out to try and get him into a protective ditch. Got blasted. He got belted by gamma ray. Turns into the Hulk.
Yes.
But I love the idea of this guy who just kind of shows up in places, has the best of intentions most of the time, is trying to be helpful, but not always so much. I don't know how you'd work him in really well now, because things have progressed so far, but I bet you can do it.
Oh, I can tell you how, because you're forgetting the other hero he was tied to, which was Captain Marvel.
Oh, I am well aware that he and Marvel were bonded together, but I don't think they're going to slap. Well, yes, we could have somebody get a hold of some megabands. Mm-hmm. You could tie him in with Quasar, for example.
Yeah.
If Quasar didn't have the negabands, but he did have the quantum bands, and you could do something with that.
Exactly. Yeah. But or you could bring the negabands in and have it tied. But the Captain Marvel series of movies, or that franchise, would be a great place for Rick Jones to pop up.
Sure.
So.
And actually, you could have him show up older than a teen, and turn out that he was friends with Marvel. Yeah. The Annette Bening character.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you could absolutely have, now that Carol has figured out what's going on, have her go back and find out that, find an older Rick Jones and get, kind of the story of how he helped her, and get a lot of back information that way.
Sure. But yeah, he was so, of course, he was the Hulk sidekick. He was Captain America's sidekick, which it was a lot of fun, because Rick would occasionally be like, he'd run into danger going like, hey, I was Captain America's sidekick, and try and take on supervillains, and then go, oh, that's right, I wasn't Captain America's sidekick for that long,
Yes.
and not do so hot in thing. I remember there was an issue of Captain Marvel where Marvel's floating in the negative zone going, Rick, click the negabands, and Marvel's like, Rick's like, you forget that I was Captain America's sidekick. And he goes and like tries to do some stuff, and then it doesn't go so well. And Rick's like, at least you're not saying I told you so.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Rick Jones, not really obscure in those who know Marvel comics history, but still, it'd be interesting to see a perennial sidekick kind of character, somebody who knows a little about something everybody. Maybe Phil Coulson was actually older Rick Jones with his pseudonym.
That would have been interesting. That would work. I could see that working.
I got your cards. I got your trading cards. Okay, that was number 2 for me. So we may have to slow down. We're tearing through these, but I bet you we can.
I've got one backup, so just in case.
Yeah, exactly.
6, and I'm sure we can come up with more. But all right, my third one. It would not surprise you to find out it's on your list too. But this is a group, so I don't know if it made your list or not. But Marvel created the perfect opportunity to highlight this group at the end of Endgame. When we find out that Captain America stayed back in the past, we could get either a movie or a Disney Plus series of the Invaders. Okay. And we get Joe Johnston back to do it because he's so good at doing those period pieces. He did The Rocketeer and he did Wolfman.
The Rock of who?
The Rocketeer. The Rock of Gibraltar.
It was a line from the movie, Dan. Jenny, I'm the Rocketeer. The Rock of who?
All right. So the Invaders were created by Roy Thomas, Sal Buscema, Bill Finger, and Martin Goodman. This is the only time I know Bill Finger gets credit for Marvel stuff. He might, maybe more. That's the only one I remember. And this has been a crazy lineup of characters. It was Captain America. There was the human android Torch, Jim Hammond, who, along with Namor, are the very first heroes in the Marvel Universe. If you go all the way back to before they were Marvel, they were Timely Comics.
No, sorry. The Human Torch is disqualified. He's already appeared in the MCU.
His body did.
Yes.
Right. But I'm saying the team.
Yeah.
So, the Iron Cross, Namor, Radiance, Toro, Bucky was in this group.
Yeah.
And former members were the Blazing Skull, the Blonde Phantom. There was a couple other Union Jack. There was a couple other Captain Americas. There was a guy called the Finn. There was Major Maple Leaf. There was a Canadian in here for a while. Miss America, the Silver Scorpion, Spitfire, the Thin Man, Union Jack, as we said, a couple different Union Jacks. Yeah. And one of them, by the way, was a member of the Howling Commandos that we see in the Captain America movie. James Montgomery Falsworth.
Oh, right. You're correct.
Brian Falsworth is another one, but the one that was in Captain America was the James Montgomery.
Yes.
So you've got all these great, the Wizard, and the original version of the Vision, which was very different than the one we see now.
Yes.
So with the fact that Steve Rogers goes back in the past and lives his life, that just opens up. We can do whatever we want at this point, And then if the rumors are true and Namor is going to be introduced in the Black Panther Wakanda Forever, they don't have to do Android or Jim Hammond Torch. They could take any of those characters. They could take, Union Jack and go off the character of Falsworth and stuff and build up this team and have some adventures in World War II. You know, and I think that would be a cool movie or a cool Disney Plus series. I don't know if Chris Evans would come back to do a Disney Plus series, but I think if you pitched him this movie, he might come back to do a movie of the Invaders and go back, work with Joe Johnston again. And I keep saying that name because he really is great at that kind of, he was the head storyboard guy and stuff for Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's his era.
Really?
Joe Johnston came out of Lucasfilms, but that's his era. He does all those kind of, that
Pulp
stuff.
to World War II, yeah.
Yeah. I think he would be absolutely perfect to do this. And I think it would be fun to do that kind of movie again. We had our World War II epic with Captain America, but I'd like to see more of that. It worked well, and I'd like to see them do it as a team. And plus, we get more of Steve Rogers as Captain America without breaking what they've already done. As long as, and we get a kind of follow up on him going back in time. So that's what I'd love to see. I'd love to see a movie with the Invaders and some of the German characters that were created as villains, like Uberman or what, the
Masterman.
Masterman, yes. And Baron Blood. Oh, we could absolutely get a Baron Blood series.
Und Kriegerfrau.
Yes.
Warrior Woman.
Yes. There's so many great characters and stuff. And
and oh God, what was his name? U-Man.
Yep.
Big Atlantean that was enemy of Namor.
Yes.
I love that. I love that crazy costume design he had.
Oh yeah. So that's my my third one there. Yeah, I really would love to see them do the Inhumans and focus on World War II and
Invaders.
I'm sorry, the Invaders. What did I call them?
Inhumans.
Oh. I would like them to do the Invaders. I love to see them go back and have Chris Evans in it, because I think if you announced Chris Evans is coming back to play Captain America in another World War II epic, the Invaders, and we also have the new guy playing Namor is going to show up in it, and we're going to introduce these new characters and Union Jack, and I think that would be a hit. I think people would love that.
Yeah.
So. All right, sir.
And it would be a good way to have an appearance of Evans's Cap without stepping on the toes of Anthony Mackie having taken on the Captain America title.
Yes, absolutely. And you could even give him the old shield, and we find out how he gets that shield, because when he comes back and gives the shield, we don't know where that shield came from.
Right.
Because the shield was broken, and he didn't take a shield with him when he went back in time.
Yep.
So I think that type of stuff, and maybe we get a Black Panther in it who's played by the father. We get a young, those kind of things. So there's a lot of potential there, and a lot of gray area that Marvel has set up. That part of the story writes itself, just connecting the dots, and we need to answer this, and this if we're going back in that time.
Yeah.
Plus, we get Haley Atwell back in it. Maybe some more Howard Stark.
Sure. Howard the Duck. Oh wait, no, we weren't just throwing out names, were we?
No, we were. I was kind of going specific, but
to the guy from World War II.
Yeah. So that's my third one. So how about you, sir?
Okay, my third one, and this is where I'm kind of cheating. I want to see the Prowler, and I'm not talking about the Ultimate Comics Prowler, Aaron Davis, who did appear in Spider-Man. Far From Home, or
the first one. No Way.
Which was the one with the Vulture?
Homecoming.
Homecoming, right. And I love Donald Glover. Don't get me wrong, but I would love to see the Prowler, Hobie Brown, this guy who's kind of down on his luck and sees the attention that superheroes are getting and uses his brilliance and ingenuity to cook up this costume it's not Tony Stark tech. It's, I developed this thing that sprays, I can spray it in someone's eyes, or he had all this like kind of low tech stuff, but it was very cool. And he has the most ridiculously wonderful costume ever. Can I share? I don't know if I can share.
Give it a shot.
Share screen is easiest with 2 monitors. Yeah, it is, but I can't do that. So,
you should be able to pick, once you do it, you should be able to pick what to share.
Yeah.
There's a drop down.
Wait, yeah, select. All right, go for entire screen. There you go. That is the Prowler.
Not showing up.
Oh well.
Hang on, let me see if no.
Yeah, I'm doing something wrong with it, so I guess I won't.
All right. Paul just left. He'll be back in a moment. So, Paul was talking about the Prowler, Hobie Brown, and he was very proud of that. So, by the way, while he's gone, join me this week as we talk about on the Dan Wickline Show. I'm going to talk about the Eternals once I'm going to see the movie tomorrow. So we'll probably do a live thing on the Eternals, and I'm hoping to have some interviews set up this week. Also, there's a couple characters we can do deep dives into. And hey, check it out, Paul is back.
Yeah.
Yourself out, Paul. While you talk to the Prowler, yes. Let me see if I can find him for you.
I tried to. Just look up Amazing Spider-Man Volume 1, number 78. That is the cool.
Alrighty. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, you've had more experience with this than I have. As in, I just tried it for the first time tonight.
Yeah. All righty. Let's see. I got it up on my screen to keep talking.
Okay. Well, yeah. Anyway, it was the thing was I kind of liked the fact that he was partly driven by a little bit of jealousy of the attention these people were getting, but it's just a crazy costume. I mean, it's just like, I don't know what the green ghosty thing is. It's a weird mask. It's an odd color scheme. He's kind of purple and green, which is more of a villain color scheme usually. But he just had all these cool gadgets and stuff, and kind of a working class hero. Not a super genius, but really smart, good at crafting gadgets. I really liked him. So I would love to see him come back. Maybe in something written by screenwriter, television writer Jeff Thorne, who also loves Hobie Brown with the same kind of passion, or probably a little more. Jeff used to write on Leverage Librarians, and numerous comics. That. So, I think Hobie would be a cool character to see. And unlike Aaron Davis, I think is the guy who's Miles Morales' uncle who appeared in Into the Spider-Verse. Hobie is not a bad guy. He got perceived as a bad guy, wasn't a bad guy, went on to be heroic, and so okay, wow, we're zooming up on number 4 for you.
Yeah, and I think a picture is going to be needed for this one too. And I'm going to surprise you with this one because I don't think you see this one coming.
Picture first, huh?
Yeah, yeah. So, let me,
Boom. Oh, nice.
you might pick up on the fact that I'm a nostalgia head. I love the 30s or 40s, the older day, and this is a character that really does well in that era. This is Howard Chaykin's character, Dominic Fortune. Now
He's not the Scorpion from Atlas Comics.
No. Talk about that. Stop stepping on my material.
Sorry.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that Howard had created the character for Atlas Comics called the Scorpion, and when that didn't go well, he brought it over to Marvel, and it was great. God, I don't remember what year, but the character is based in the 1930s. He's this fortune-seeking adventurer. That explains the pirate-like boots and the outfit and the heart on the chest. I mean, I never got the heart thing, but would be a fun character. I kind of liken him to. Are you familiar with Boston Blackie?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the old Boston Blackie radio show, where you had this kind of ne'er-do-well with a code of honor, and he was quick with the jokes and stuff, but he also always saved the day. He helped people, and that's kind of what I would see Dominic Fortune as, the type that would kind of help out. And I could see this being a Disney Plus series set in the 30s and 40s. You could bring in some other characters again, Haley Atwell, Peggy Carter, some of the characters that we saw in her series. But I think
Dum Dum
Dugan, yeah. He could be crossing paths with that version of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
And again, a fortune seeker, a little bit James Bond. You don't have to do that particular costume. I think the costume isn't important to the character, really.
Yeah. Although you could do a kind of I can see ways of doing a kind of a version of that costume. Maybe lose the the Buccaneer boots, but still like a cool leather jacket or vest thing.
Yeah.
Maybe with a more of a oh God, trying to think, commando sweater.
Yeah.
Underneath one with the patches.
Yeah.
I mean, and give him some jodhpurs maybe.
Yeah, I think he's got that Luger-like gun. It's not quite.
It's the Mauser. It's the Mauser 1896, I think.
Yeah, he's just such a fun character, and he's popped up in some odd places. I think the Hulk. He was in the Hulk. He was in Web of Spider-Man, Marvel Team Up, stuff like that. He's been part of he was part of the 1959 Avengers in one of those, fill-in story things. He was part of the World Counterterrorism Agency and a group called Vanguard. So there's a lot of potential you could do with this character. You could set him in the 30s. You could move him into the future if you wanted to. But I just see him as being this fun, kind of swashbuckling character, a little bit James Bond, a little bit Jack Sparrow, and I think he would just be a lot of fun. And if you get a good-looking young actor, I'm thinking of Tyler Hoechlin on Superman. He could do it. If you want to get a little older, Matt Bomer would be interesting. So, but just get that ruggedly handsome, the old matinee star,
and somebody with a flop of hair.
Yes,
that kind of you got to have that.
Yes.
He and it might be interesting also to play up his Jewish heritage.
Yeah.
If I remember, because he wasn't. I don't think the initial appearances that he played that up. But later on, Chaykin definitely established that
Isn't the character
Dominic
Fortunato?
Fortunato.
Fortune,
Well, yes, his real Fortuna. I'm trying to.
Fortunov.
Okay. By the way, it's a Mauser C96 done from 1896 to 1961. They made those.
Okay.
It is the gun that you see in the Rocketeer when he's the blimp is coming in and he's up on top of the Griffith Observatory and he does the pose for a second with the American flag streaming behind him.
Yes.
He's
Yep.
holding a Mauser.
Yep.
And it's also obviously the basis for Han Solo's gun.
Yep. Exactly. And in one of his early stories, he basically saves this young boy from a bunch of bullies, and it turns out the young boy is Steve Rogers.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So again, I think he'd make a great Disney Plus series. He would. I would love to write it. I would be all over. If, there are a couple characters. If Marvel went, hey, we want you to do, I'd be like, can we do Dominic Fortune?
Yeah.
Like I said, because I just think it's an area of the Marvel Universe no one has touched. They get a little hints of it with the Captain America and Agent Carter, but I think it could be a lot of fun.
I agree. I agree. And I love Dominic Fortune. I like the pulp character. I'm a big pulp fan. Yeah, so in fact, although it's not the Marvel universe, my friend Alex Simmons has a character called Blackjack, who is a African American soldier of fortune in the 30s, and it's so awesome. I wish it had been more successful, so Alex was still doing more Blackjack comics today, although he does do some stories with them. Anyway, shout out to Alex.
Yeah, that's the same era that I put my I did the 50s for my Lucius Fogg novels, but when I write that character, it's that, quick-witted, great with the ladies, hates authority, smarts off to everybody, that type of character that, and those are so much fun to write, And you don't have to deal with all of technology and stuff like. There's so many great movies that would be ruined if somebody actually pulled out a cell phone.
Yeah.
So I do love writing the older period pieces. The current novel I'm writing right now, the Ember Crest Protocol, which I do on Vela. Fifth chapter just went up. It's all set in the 70s, and again, because the technologies, I wanted that 70s Bond feel to it, but also less technology you got to deal with,
By the way, every time you mention the platform, I want to go, Bella!
The first time it might have been funny.
Well, that's the first time I've done it.
You just said every time.
Every time I want to do it, but
yeah, resist that urge.
Yes.
Yeah. Shameless plugs. Yep. This is the shameless plug hour. We're at the top of the hour. It's the shameless plug hour.
Yes.
Andrew, let's take a moment here. Andrew, you got anybody that should be in the MCU that isn't, that you think we should add to our list here? I know both Paul and I have 2 or 3 characters left.
Apparently not.
All right. Well, Andrew thinks. Let's go ahead, and Paul, you start your next one.
All right. So this one I think would be an excellent addition to the MCU. She is a villain turned hero. She's got a power set we haven't really seen. Very visually striking. It is Songbird, originally a supervillain named Screaming Mimi, who her story of a hard-bitten crook playing tough and getting into villainy, mostly to kind of shield the fact that she was kind of timid and kind of vulnerable, and she developed this hard shell. She, so a hard-bitten crook turning her life around, embracing her basic humanity and decency, I think would be an excellent character arc.
Yeah.
Something that a little different from the Quicksilver Scarlet Witch redemption arc. It would be, a kind of a different feel. Plus, she's got this sound harness that allows her to channel her sonic powers and like energy constructs, kind of like Green Lantern. And I think that would be a very visually different kind of approach, something that we haven't really seen in the Marvel universe.
Now, isn't part of the Thunderbirds? Thunderbolts. Yeah. So there's a possibility, because I mean that's a group of characters that everybody's talking about is going to show up.
Yep. I think she would be a great addition. Again, maybe not so obscure to Marvel Comics fan, but to the general public, I think she's pretty obscure. I just the also the possibility of her past coming back to haunt her is a interesting, I think, an interesting way to go. Plus, she hangs out with Zemo. Maybe they have been clubbing.
Oh,
never gets old.
No. By the way, Andrew did come up with one. Who would be a great person to go up against Songbird? Dazzler. He wants to see it set in the 70s, maybe working with former NYPD officer Misty Knight.
There we go.
So,
and actually Dazzler could be late 70s, early 80s too. I mean, the disco. I mean, she debuted in, was it 81? Maybe?
Yeah, I want to say 81.
Yeah. So and disco was still a thing. So yeah.
Hell, Kiss.
And it'd be interesting to kind of fill in some of that space. We got hints of stuff between World War II and Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
Reappearance, or I guess Iron Man's first thing. So that's there are decades there that nobody's really touched.
According to the book I'm reading, you know how Star Wars, everything on the timeline is related to the Battle of Yavin?
Yeah.
The Death Star blowing up?
Yeah.
Marvel knew that when they started building their timeline, they needed to have a Battle of Yavin moment. And that's good, that they consider Tony Stark saying, "I am Iron Man" at the press conference is their Battle of Yavin. That's their center point for their timeline. So everything is either before or after that. And so far, only, other than some flashbacks, only Captain America, the first Avenger, and Captain Marvel take place prior to that.
Although there are flashbacks and
I did start by saying other than flashbacks.
Yeah.
So,
no, I wasn't correcting you. I was just sharing with our viewers at home.
Yeah. Well, technically, most Thor movies have flashbacks every time Odin went into battle when he was younger.
That's true.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, wasn't Dazzler actually there? Like it was supposed to be a movie or a TV show, and
yes,
yeah,
Jim Shooter created the character with the idea. It was tied to. There was an actress attached to it. I don't remember. I don't think it was Madonna. It was too early for Madonna, but there was an actress attached to it, and yeah. But then this was the era where Kiss put out the Dynasty album, which was pretty much their disco album. But Gene Simmons was dating Cher at the time too, so it was a really dark era in life.
Yeah.
Songs like "I Was Made for Loving You." It's like, oh God, that's not good. No. What are you doing?
Oh, I forgot Dazzler was actually in Dark Phoenix.
Oh, was
which
she?
is still not the MCU.
Right.
but she was commissioned by Casablanca Records in '78
Yes.
as an animated special to be a multimedia cross promotion with a character known as the Disco Queen. I like this. Marvel Comics would develop a singing superhero while Casablanca would produce a singer. I just love that. Like, we'll figure one out.
Yeah. You make the character and we'll find someone who can sing. Isn't that pretty much how they did it for a long time?
Yeah.
You know, like most of the boy bands they came up with.
Yep. And then Bo Derek was almost the Dazzler.
Can she sing?
I don't know.
Casablanca also being the record label for Kiss, which is how they're tied to it.
Oh, interesting. John Romita Jr. designed her. And he intended the character to resemble model and actress singer Grace Jones. Wow. Okay.
Not even close.
Yes, and then basically Bo Derek came along and they wanted her to look more like, blonde and blue-eyed. And
I look at the character Dazzler, and my thought is they'd watched too many repeats of Xanadu.
Fair.
Olivia Newton-John, roller skates.
Yep. Singing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Michael Beck, Fred Astaire.
So wow.
Gene Kelly.
Gene Kelly. Yes.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. We finished up with yours.
That was my fourth, I think.
All right. We got to go to my number 5.
Yep.
And like I said, I do have a 6 just in case.
I've got backups as well, and a couple of honorable mentions.
Okay. My next one is another group because after watching Black Widow, I really want more of David Harbour as Red Guardian. But if you're going to do Red Guardian, you've got to go with and how I first knew them was the Soviet super soldiers, but I think they call them the Winter Guard now. And
they currently have a series coming out.
Yeah. So you get Red Guardian, Crimson Dynamo, who they keep trying to put him into Iron Man movies, but never quite.
Yeah.
He ends up becoming Whiplash or Ironmonger, whatever. Dark Star, who has controls the same ability that Cloak uses.
Yeah.
They also touched on it in Agent Carter in one of the series.
Yep.
Ursa Major, who transforms into a giant bear, and they actually name drop that character in the Black Widow movie. He's the guy that one of the guys that arm wrestles Red Guardian. Other characters who show, Vanguard is another one, who weapons are a hammer and sickle, which is very, very Soviet Union. But then other characters that came later on, Phantasm, Power Surge, Cybercat, and Sputnik. So you have this whole team. It's basically the Russian Avengers. And I think it would be a lot of fun if we did take a look at that team. And again, movie this is probably more of a Disney Plus series as well. But you have David Harbour as your main draw right there. You can bring in the guy you already used for the big guy, or for Ursa Major. Yeah, and you just fill in around that, and you get your Russian version of the Avengers. And I think that would be a blast to watch. I remember when the characters were. I remember first time I saw them, they were going up against the Hulk, and the copy of the comic I got was somehow misprinted and had the cover on it twice. So this was a special comic in my collection. It had that double cover. So that always stuck out to me. And then I really liked the designs of these characters, like, Vanguard with that very, the hammer and the sickle, and it was very strong shouldered and all these characters were so cool.
Yeah.
And I don't think they do some cool things with them, but they haven't really highlighted them. But God, David Harbour was so good in Black Widow. I mean, really, just probably one of the highlights of that movie. For me, he was the highlight.
Still fits.
Yep. That or him telling the story about his dad peeing on him to try to make her feel better. Fathers. It's like, what?
Yeah.
We're always trying to say the right thing and never saying the right thing. It just David Harbour did such an amazing job in that I want to see more of that. I really, really want to know if he fought somebody as Captain America, whether it was Steve Rogers or not. He fought a Captain America, and I want to know that story. So I really want to see more of Red Guardian, and I want the rest of the Winter Guard with him. And again, I think that would be an awesome Disney Plus series or movie. So, but you've got, plus we want to see which Captain America he fought exactly.
Yeah.
I think it would be great if he fought Isaiah Bradley.
Yes, although I feel like that would have come up in his story if it had been. But I like the idea that they were like just kind of throughout, kind of trying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Don says he seemed pretty clear that Red Guardian was lying when he said he fought Cap. I would have agreed with you until later in the movie where he pulls Black Widow aside and asks if Captain America has ever spoken of him.
Yeah.
So boasting, bragging in prison. Yeah, I would have taken that as a lie. Pulling Natasha aside and asking about him specifically, that came across more like he thinks he fought Captain America. What's Don's follow-up? I thought it was a missed opportunity that he didn't comment that his fight against Taskmaster was his Cap fight, since he was using Cap's moves. Yeah. No, I think he fought somebody because he thinks there's a connection between him and Captain America. And if Captain America was in the ice the entire time, why would he feel he had a connection to him?
But are we now in the timeline where Captain America went back in time?
Mm.
And maybe he came out of retirement for a single mission. So, which would mean that the Cap that Natasha knew wouldn't have any knowledge of the Red Guardian,
right?
Even though the Red Guardian fought him.
He absolutely could have fought an older Chris Evans, Steve Rogers,
right?
So yeah, there's a lot of possibilities there. But to me, it just came across that he was very sincerely asking, because he didn't say it out loud when he pulled Natasha aside. He didn't even say it in front of Yelena. So to me, that seemed more sincere to me. So.
I loved Natasha's reaction to that scene as well.
So, all right. Paul.
Rain on our parade, Don.
Yeah. You believe what you want, Don. I'll believe what I want. No, Don, you could be 100% right. Like I said, it just the way the second scene played out made me think there was something to it. But until Marvel does something with it either way, they may never, or they might. Threads like that are fun, and that's what fans get to kind of make up about, So.
Yeah.
All right, who's next on your list, Paul?
My fifth option has appeared in live action, but in a form that I do not recognize. I thought was a cool nod, but not really the character I'm talking about. I would love to see Viper / Madam Hydra in the MCU. Okay. There was the Android version on AI / Android version on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I like that, got a kick out of it, but still, she was not the callous evil mastermind version, the one who literally she killed the guy called Viper and took his costume, claimed to have been in where he witnessed his dying, and took on. She said she took on the costume in his honor and joined a super villain team with his brother, and went, no, I totally think he was great. I'm honoring him by wearing his costume.
By the way, Don is 100% right. The Viper in the Wolverine was terrible and blonde.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't she was she Von Strucker's daughter? Or or maybe I'm thinking of that horrible Nick Fury movie with David Hasselhoff.
Yes, that had, yes.
I was going to mention the Wolverine version, but yeah, no, that's definitely not Madam Viper. That is not.
And you have to make sure that you separate Madam Hydra from Viper, because there's like Contessa Valentina Delegra, whatever, Fontaine, is Madam Hydra in the comics for a while. She becomes Madam Hydra.
And then there's some redhead that was, But I would love to see a Viper as like somebody trying to resurrect Hydra. And I think that would be interesting, and play her up for the full kind of cold-hearted, calculating super spy. She's almost like an anti-Black Widow.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think she would. And again, I'm sliding through like the thinnest of cracks to get her as not having been, in the MCU before. But I think she'd be really good. An interesting, mastermindy kind of character.
Mm-hmm. She'd be great if they do a Black Widow movie focused on Yelena Belova.
Yeah.
Or if they bring back Scarlett Johansson for some reason, which there's something about Soul World and the fact we're getting Adam Warlock. If somebody dies in exchange of that, there's a chance you can bring them back. I think there's a tiny sliver that if they wanted to, they could bring back Natasha.
Yeah.
So, by the way, Andrew talked. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Andrew says he wants John Walker's time traveling to the 80s to fight Red Guardian in Afghanistan.
Okay.
Yeah. Don, disagree with you. Scarlett Johansson has multiple movies in the works with Disneyland since they worked out their deal. They came out specifically talked that she has multiple movies, including was it Haunted Mansion?
Yep.
One that she's working on. So, no, whatever ended up being the end of that result of that lawsuit, Scarlett Johansson had them over a barrel, and she got things approved and green-lit in part of her deal. So, yeah, Scarlett Johansson is far from done with Disney. She may not come back to the MCU, but she's doing a lot more with Disney.
Although she also, though, Feige made it clear that it wasn't the MCU that had a problem with Scarlett, that it was straight up involved with, it was Disney higher up than, Yeah.
All right, so you went through your 5. Got a few more minutes left. I'm going to bring up my 6th, my backup, the guy that, well, the reason I want to do this is because I don't think we've ever gotten a really, really, really good Tarzan movie. There's been some decent ones. Greystoke, stuff like that. So I want a Khazar movie, which is as close as you're going to get in the MCU. Lord Kevin Plunderer. I mean, you get Shauna the She-Devil, you get Zabu, you get a deal with
the Savage Land.
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
I absolutely would love to see a Khazar movie. Again, it could be a Disney Plus series.
Yep.
They don't have to be movies, but I think that I think the world's ready for another Tarzan type adventure.
And,
you know,
and one of the nice things is that it being taken out of Africa and put in the Savage Land
mm-hmm.
takes away a bit of that whole white savior, white superiority air that like
Yes.
Tarzan and Sheena and some of those characters have.
Yes, absolutely. And also, it just takes it more into the Land of the Lost feel.
Slee stack. Oh, sorry.
Yes. So I'd love to see them do Kazar. I think they've got the special effects ability to do Zabu, and I mean we see it with the dinosaurs and stuff. So you're doing Tarzan with Jurassic Park, and you're bringing it all together in a movie. I think it would be awesome.
I think you're right. Do you think you're right on that? I would like to now see mine is not so sweeping in scope. And people might claim that we don't need to see her because like the niche has been kind of filled by Jessica Jones and stuff. But I would love to see Jessica Drew Spider-Woman. I think she's fascinating. You've got the whole background with the High Evolutionary, which would be interesting to bring in, and she's different enough that she's not a Spider-Man clone.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think it would be fun to have a character, the Spider-Woman character, who's actually older, if not more experienced than the current Spider-Man. She's, I just think there'd be there's a lot of fun stuff that you could do. And, you might even be able to bring in some mystical stuff with Morgan Le Fay, who is one of her prime enemies. So
true. But just so you know, hang on a second. Let me see if I can make this work. Is that on screen?
It is.
Jessica Drew rumored to be Olivia Wilde's Spider-Woman. As Marvel, this is an article, and it's been going for a while. Olivia Wilde is set up to do a top secret Sony movie as part of the Spider-Man universe. And the thing that people are going is that it's going to be a Jessica Drew Spider-Woman movie. So that one may be happening.
That would be great.
Yep.
I think that would be fantastic.
You might be right on the nose with that one.
So do you have any more backups? I've got a couple to throw at you.
Oh, okay. I'd like to see them. I'm just a couple honorable mentions.
Yeah.
I'd love to see them do something with the original Guardians of the Galaxy lineup that we got introduced. I'd like to see them do something with the character of the Paladin.
You and me both.
Yeah. Andrew says it's weird that all the characters in the MCU are villains. Kraven, Doctor Doom. Oh, he just wants villains. Okay, well, Kraven's going to be a hero in the Sony universe. How about you, sir? Any of the ones you want to throw out there?
I want to throw out two. I think, well, and actually, we need to bring back Daredevil to make this work. I want to see live action. I want to see the masterminds of visual effects at Marvel Studios bring us the Stilt Man.
I knew he was going to come up at some point this evening.
I thought that would be amazing, and they hinted at it in the Daredevil TV show on Netflix. But I would like to see Gladiator.
Mm-hmm. By the way,
those wonky buzzsaw. I mean, it's just they're interesting visual characters that I would like to see the take.
Not only did they introduce Melvin Potter and show blueprints of him designing his gladiator suit, but in the background in his laboratory are Stiltman's legs.
Yep.
So Marvel, the Netflix stuff was having a lot of fun with that. So I'd love to see that paid off. And see, I didn't bring up any of the characters in the Netflix stuff because to me it's still kind of vague what they're going to do, because there is so much talk about them bringing some of the characters over. But yeah, one of the characters I like to see them bring in, and I'm surprised he hasn't popped up in any of the Thor movies, but he is rumored to be part of something coming up, and that's Boulder the Brave.
Yeah.
You know, because they do so much with Thor's family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's all about family. It's like, there's another brother out here. Anybody want to talk about him? You know? Yeah. And
if
supposed to be perfect. And the fact that he's basically perfect would drive Thor and Loki insane.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what else I would love to see, speaking of Thor stuff? Ulick the Troll.
Yeah, that would be good.
I mean, that would just be, it's sort of like, oh, look, it's an Asgardian. Well, not technically Asgardian, but it's a 9 worlds version of the Hulk, except he's not quite so bestial, or he's a little more intelligent than the original. Yeah.
Have you heard of or maybe played the new Marvel game for the phones, Marvel Future Revolution?
No, I have not.
I've been playing that, and first thing, it's a lot of fun. It doesn't have the normal BS you get in these games where you have to go on at these certain times to get energy, and so you can do these things. It's none of that BS. It's more just straightforward. And I started playing it. You could be Captain America, so you'll like that. And the whole idea behind it is that all the different multiverse of Earths are converging into one place. And they found a way to hold it off, but they got to find a permanent way to do it. And there's all these different things that are coming up. And one of the plans is that Yggdrasil, the world tree, has died, and they have to regrow it to try to hold all these worlds in place. Mm-hmm. And they have to go to this one planet that's kind of Asgard, but it's merged. So like all the heroes are the Asgardian versions. And Ulick the Troll is one of the big bads that you've got to face.
Yeah.
It is an absolutely blast of a game. I'm having a lot of fun with it. And it brings up a lot of characters and stuff that are very still in the comics. You don't get them in the, like Bob, the Hydra guy. I think he's Hydra or AIM. He's one of the companion characters you can get. So, but
I was thinking, speaking of Thor villains, I was thinking, although again we had a Mr. Hyde in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I would love to see Cobra and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah.
I really, especially Cobra, would be interesting because they could do a bunch of stuff with CGI where, he's just oozing out of, traps and stuff. Serpent Society, maybe?
Yeah, I think Serpent Society would be a great villain for the new Captain America movie with Sam Wilson. Put him up against that group. That would be interesting. So, all right, sir, we have hit our 90-minute mark. I thank you guys for joining us. This was a lot of fun. Andrew says on his last comment was, the greatest Marvel Legend figures this year was Stiltman, which you could get extra legs in the ML Hand Ninja figure. So just in case you needed an extra leg, you could get one. So this was fun. Next week, we're going to do a breakdown of the Eternals and talk about that because both Paul and I will get to see it. And we'll talk about what those 2 post-credit scenes mean to the MCU because they're very different directions. And who goes this way compared to this way is equally bizarre. So, all right, everybody, have a great night. Join me this week for the Dan Wickline Show, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on The Experience. You can find, I'll link it on my Facebook page and stuff like that. Paul, have a good week.
You too, Dan.
Thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you next week.